Champagne, France is in the northeast of France. It's the closest winemaking region to Paris. The best vineyards there are typically on white chalk hills. The winters are usually very cold, so the wines are blended with a lot of different grape varieties. And then the 5 regions of Champagne are Vallée de la Marne, which is the valley of the Marne River, the Montagne de Reims, which is the mountain of Reims, Côte des Blancs, the hillside of whites, and then Côte de Sézanne and Côte des Bar. For the varieties typically grown there, Pinot Noir is the most popular. It's 38% of the area. It's grown in the region of Côte des Bar. Chardonnay is 31% of the varieties grown. It's in Côte des Blancs and Côte de Sézanne. And then Meunier is 31% of the area, and that's typically in Vallée de la Marne. And then Arbein, Petit Meslier, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Blanc are only 0.3% each, and those are some of the other varieties grown.
The wine region of Champagne, France is most recognizable to many due to its name and the popular bubbly beverage that originated in the area. The beverage itself is often seen as a symbol of elegance and consumed during times of celebration. With its rolling hills of vineyards and storied champagne houses, the region is a very popular tourist destination. The nearby town of Reims and Epernay are also historical champagne-making areas. The Avenue des Champagne is in Epernay and features shops from many of the famous champagne houses. Most of these houses originated in the late 1700s and early 1800s, creating traditions and a legacy that continues to grow.
When it comes to financial impact on Champagne and Champagne, France, with COVID-19 and the cancellation of numerous events such as weddings and graduations, there was an 18% decrease in the shipment of champagne from 2020 to 2021. And because of this, in comparison to 2019, an equivalent of 4.55 to 6.45 million bottles were lost in 2020. However, there was a quick recovery from the shock of COVID-19, in which we see an increase in champagne production by 1.6% in 2020 compared to 2022 compared to 2021. Yet, due to climate change and how fragile vineyards are, diseases such as the bacterial agent Flavescens doré are spreading across the vineyards, causing vines to wither. Other factors impacting Champagne, France, and surrounding winemaking areas financially are the cost of living and changes in consumption habits. And we see this in overproduction of wine and a fall in prices in all wine due to sharp rise in food and fuel prices due to, for example, rocketing global energy prices.
Chalky and limestone-rich soils are the bedrock of Champagne, dating back millions of years. Composed of ancient marine shells and sedimentary rock, these soils, predominant in the Champagne region, provide exceptional drainage due to their porosity, preventing waterlogging and regulating water absorption. This unique geological composition imparts a distinct minerality to the grapes, an iconic hallmark of Champagne. Within the Champagne region, subregions boast distinct soil characteristics influencing grape composition. Moving to weather influences, the cool continental climate with marginal ripening conditions and significant temperature variations between seasons create an extended ripening period. Cold winters are vital for fine dormancy and proper bud break, controlling pests and diseases. Moderate summers slow grape ripening, preserving acidity and flavor development, ideal for crafting high-quality sparkling wines. Relatively high rainfall provides the necessary water supply, minimizing the need for irrigation. And these weather nuances profoundly impact grape maturity, essential for complex and balanced wines. Slow ripening concentrates flavors and maintains acidity, crucial in crafting exceptional sparkling wines. Additionally, the cooler climate retains higher acidity and achieves optimal sugar levels, fundamental elements in the art of sparkling wine production.
Champagne wine has been popular in France and across Europe since the 13th century, although the sparkling version we know of today was not discovered until the 17th century. Champagne was actually discovered by accident. Romans were cultivating vines and making wine in what is now known as the Champagne region by the 19th century. Champagne was associated with the French kings in Reims cathedral coronation, which in turn made the regional wine popular throughout France. During the 13th century, the Champagne region was a trade hub and was host to several festivals. Merchants would bring champagne back to other countries like England, Italy, and Spain, which spread the word about the new French wine. At this time, champagne was not golden and bubbly, but pink and still, because the bubbles came later. The region was plagued with very cold winter seasons, and when temperatures reached freezing, this would pause the fermentation process, and when it warmed up again, the second round of fermentation would commence in the bottle. This caused carbon dioxide bubbles to form in the wine, creating what we now know as the fizzy champagne. Some bottles would even explode due to this carbonation, causing them to be named the Devil's Wine. The bottles that survived were actually seen as a fun novelty and became more popular among the French royalty in the 17th century. This led to the creation of champagne houses. Dom Perignon, who is known as the father of champagne, was a French monk and cellar master. The supposed legend is that in 1693, he was the first to taste the spoiled wine and announced that he was tasting the stars. He then made it his goal to figure out how to duplicate the fizzy wine. Although several believe this is a made-up story, Dom was one of the many contributors to producing the fizzy wine we know and love today. Too much sugar would cause the bottle to burst, and too little would flatten the bubbles. Thanks to Jean-Baptiste, a French chemist, in 1836, he created a scale to measure how much sugar should be added that reduced the number of bottles exploding from 90% to 8%. During the 20th century, champagne and their makers faced several problems, such as invasive insects causing them to add American grapevines to vineyards. Vineyards and winemakers also suffered losses during World War I and World War II. The champagne industry also suffered economically during the American Prohibition and the Great Depression. But when World War II ended, the Champagne region bounced back and has continued to produce this celebratory beverage.